Good, let's do this thing.
All right, let's get it. All right, so welcome to Thoughts and Feelings. This is our
Thoughts?
first. Babe.
Uh-huh.
You forgot to shave.
It's COVID.
I know, but, I kind of, thought you could.
I put on a shirt.
Hey guys, welcome to Thoughts and Feelings. My name is Charity and this is Robbie.
Hello.
We've been married for 18 years and we have 4 children, 2 birth, 2 through adoption. And we wanted to talk to you guys about our story and how it all came about.
Yeah, we've kind of been having this stewing for a while. The idea of thoughts and feelings, because I tend to be analytical and then pretend I don't have feelings. I don't know. And then Charity's very in touch with feelings.
Yeah, I can easily kind of see both sides of a situation.
Yeah.
So that really helps in most cases.
We complement each other.
We do. We complement each other. Yes, we do.
Yeah, so.
It's like a good double stuffed Oreo.
So what is our first
Chocolate
episode?
and the icing. They go perfect together.
Hungry now. So this is our very first episode. So
Yes.
what are we talking about?
So our first episode today, we thought we would talk about adoption. Like we said before, I've only been married for 18 years. I don't know about him.
Who knows what I was doing?
I don't know. We've been married for 18 years. We have 4 children. When we moved from Virginia to Wisconsin,
Which is about 8.5 years ago, something like that.
We had a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old. And we'd always thought about adopting. We didn't know when it would come about in our story or our timeline, but it was something we always wanted to do. Once we were able to move to Wisconsin, things rolled or kind of played into place, I guess you would say. Fell into place, yeah. So we were able to do that. One of the things that caught my attention when I was really interested in it was an organization through Focus on the Family called Wait No More. They were having a conference in the area. And so we were able to go and to get more information on foster care to adoption. It was an awesome, wonderful conference.
Yeah, and if you're curious about adoption, and I think that's kind of a big part of why we're doing this.
Yeah.
It's on my heart, and I hope more people adopt. I have this feeling like we have this tendency to see these adoptive families with 10 kids or something in some giant van, and then a bunch of other people who don't. And I really feel like, especially among Christians and especially among those who are following Jesus and who believe that we should take care of orphans and widows, it really feels like it ought to be more spread out. It ought to be more like, an adopted child or 2 per family. If you can support it, if you can do it. It's just such a good thing to do. It's such a beneficial thing to do.
Yeah, it is such a blessing on our life every day.
There's a lot of stress stuff too, but it is really a blessing. And I think that's a lot of what the Wait No More did. They would talk about what to expect. And what we saw when we were doing like foster to adopt is they were very, very honest.
They were.
About like removing those illusions you have about like Oliver Twist scenarios where it's, thank you, sir, you're such a wonderful man for adopting me. I'm so happy. And it's like, no, probably not going to happen.
For every meal.
Yeah.
Go to bed on time with sparkle in their eyes.
Yeah, these are typically kids who are like, I don't know who you are,
right? But
you're like the third person who said they're going to take care of me, and I don't believe you, and for good reason.
Yeah, they test the boundaries for sure. Just like our birth children, I mean, they test boundaries too. For a foster child that is moving into a home for adoption, or even just if you're just fostering in a home for foster, they are going to test those boundaries because they're going to see how far they can push it if you're going to still love them.
Yeah, it's a test.
It is a test. Do
you really mean it? Are you really going to be in there? Are you really for me? Are you really going to love me if this thing happens? And it's almost a specific pattern. Usually the kid comes in and acts like an angel for about a week and then doesn't do that.
Yeah, the honeymoon stage is over in about a month, usually, yes. Yes, and it just reminds me so much of what Christ did for us, right? You know, I've heard people say, I don't know if I could adopt an older child because they've kind of stuck in their ways by then and I wouldn't be able to change them. And it's not about changing them. It's about loving them and helping nourishing them. Like if we came, like, can you imagine if Christ did that for us, right? He looked at us and go, oh, you can't be saved at 20. If you've already lived 20 years of that kind of life, I'm not about that. Like, I can't even imagine.
Yeah, because your job's you're not morphing, and it's the same with your birth kits. You're not trying to morph them into some little version of something that you're trying to put out.
No.
You're trying to support and love them and help them flourish as the thing that they are, and bring out the talents that they have. And it's really exactly the same. So yeah, the Wait No More conference was cool because it was very exciting. There were a bunch of people there, and they basically a bunch of appeals. Please consider doing this. Please try to, think about this. And they went through all these stats, and I can go through some here because I have some ready.
Yeah, one of the things, before you go into stats and facts and all that, one of the cool things was that they had all the different foster and adoption agencies from around the area that you could go and look at the booth and talk to the people one-on-one. So you didn't just hear from past foster and adoptive children or current foster parents or adoptive parents. You were able to talk to the agency to see how they dealt with, moving forward with, that kind of thing, training and what was best maybe for your family. When we moved into it, we really wanted to do foster to adopt with the hope of moving forward to adoption. So we had to make sure that
and that's to be clear too, is there's sort of two people going into that system. Well, first of all, we should note that we're talking about foster to adopt, not international adoptions or other.
We went through the state of Wisconsin.
Yeah.
And we were able to do it that way.
And you typically have two groups there. One are people who want to become foster parents, which is they would like to support children who are removed from a home for a time.
Right. And to give them the love they need until they find their forever home.
I'm really impressed with people who do that. I don't think I could ever do it, but I think it's really cool. I hope someone out there is willing to do it because it needs to be done. But then there's foster to adopt, which is typically like, okay, this child is going to need adoption almost for sure. Yeah. And so you're a foster parent, but only in the sense that you kind of legally have to be a foster parent before you can become an adopted, actually adopt the child.
Right. In our eyes, the moment that Devin and Makai,
which is our two sons, our two adopted sons,
moved into our family or started transitioning, even that moment of transition with Devin, like we were like, nope, you're ours. And we made that point clear to him, like from the beginning. We're like, no, dude, like whatever happens, you're part of this family. Like you're my child. And that really helps. So what are some facts?
So these are things to know, because a part of the disillusioning yourself too, which is I think probably the main things to know is that number one, foster care, adoptive care is really needed. There is a backlog. There are children who need it. There are not enough people adopting. And we do really have the capacity. I mean, you think about like the Christian church in any given state, it could probably completely absorb
That's one of the things
children who need adopting. They mentioned it, like they do the stats, and if you do it, if people would step up, every kid would have a home. Yeah. But the other thing to know there is that typically in foster care, these happen due to neglect or abuse almost every time. I mean, in a rare case, there's someone died, birth parents die or something. But typically it's neglect or abuse, which means you're never adopting a baby, for example, except we did adopt a baby. That's an interesting story. We'll tell in a few minutes.
That. We'll get to our surprise.
It was very interesting. But because it takes a while before some bad things happen in a home, before social services steps in and realizes what's going on. Usually at that point it's the kid's 2 or 3 years old or so, and then usually there's 1 or 2 attempts to maybe remove the child, put them in foster care. The parent will start going through some steps and they'll reunify them, which is the goal of foster care.
It's the huge goal. Yeah, that's what they talk about through all the trainings, through the court systems. Like even when we were moving towards adoption, they could. Saying, what are we going to do the best we can to make sure that, everybody gonna
that's the goal. And like roughly half, looking at the stats here, roughly half, a little more than half of the time, that's what happens. But that means, a little less than half the time, that is not what happens. But oftentimes there's a couple steps that happen. When they're 2 or 3, this can happen, or they can be removed from the home around 4 years old, and then they can bounce around a couple foster homes until they're 7, and then by the time you're adopting, oftentimes you're looking at a 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old who has not had a lot of stability in the last few years, and frankly doesn't trust you. And so that's not quite our story with our older one, but it's pretty close. I mean, he was he was kind of in a rough home and then in a foster care scenario for about a year.
Yeah.
And then when he came to us, it was like, okay, so who are you? Are you really going to take care of me? Do you really care? Are you going to let me do what I want to do? Am I going to have fun? Is this going to be miserable? All that stuff.
And then one of the blessings with Devin's story is that when he went into that foster care for about a year, it was with a family friend that he'd known since birth.
Yeah.
So he did have
a connection.
There, yeah. So that was huge.
But yeah, that's pretty typical. Your average foster care kid is about 7 to 9, somewhere in there. So you're typically not talking about a really young kid. And I would encourage you, if you're like, ooh, I don't know about that. I've thought about adopting, but I didn't realize that. I would strongly encourage you, I'll still go for it. Like, yeah, you're right. They do have a lot of background, a lot of history, a lot of stuff going on. You can still shape and mold. You can still be a tremendous force for good. We've watched Devin grow so much.
So huge in the last, 4 years? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then you think about if they're going down this path and it's just kind of getting worse and worse and worse, and you're thinking, I don't want to adopt this kid because they're already so far down this path. It's so difficult. But the difference you have is not just how far you get them over here, but how far they would have kept going over here.
Exactly.
And I don't know if my hand's off the screen here.
Yeah.
But, how far
continuing that family.
Yeah. You think about what would happen and what did happen.
Right.
It can make a huge difference. And they need it. There are a bunch of kids who really need help. They are adorable. They are sweet. They have problems. They have talents. They're really great at some things and really terrible at other things, just like everyone else in the world. And there are, let's see, right now there are over 437,000 children and youth in foster care. Not all of those are up for adoption, but roughly 45% of those are in non-relative foster homes, which probably means, I don't know if that's necessarily an indication, but it's probably a pretty strong indication that those are going to be kids that are going to need adopting.
Right.
Because there's literally no one else in the family who can take them. Not a great support group, et cetera, et cetera.
And one thing that breaks my heart is that kids who are not able, say who are in the foster system, who are not able to be adopted or are not adopted, they'll actually age out of the system. So they'll stay in a foster care home. Sometimes this home, like foster care homes, are awesome. Like you have the loving family who really cares about them and helps nurture them and teaches them basic things like a checkbook, how to wash your clothes, how to apply for colleges, how to apply for loans, how to get a bank account, all these basic things that we don't think about.
Yeah.
In that, or you might have a foster care home where they're just there. They're just another body in the home. They go to school, they eat, whatever, but they don't get taught all those extra trades. And
in worst case scenarios, you can even have abuse or other problems.
Right,
I mean, obviously, those are people that, if they're discovered, are not foster parents for long, it does happen.
Right, but then you have those kids who aren't taught those basic skills, and then they age out of the foster care system at age 18 and thrown into this world, and they don't have a job, they don't have money, they're just on the street. And so then what happens, right? They go back into the cycle. Most probably what's going to happen is they go back into that family cycle of drug abuse or neglect, and that just that breaks my heart.
You have a chance to break that cycle with a kid in the 7 to 9 age. You have a chance to break that cycle with a teenager too.
Yeah, totally.
But so anyway, so that's a lot of data. What about our story, right?
Yeah, so we were talking about how it was always it was always on our heart to want to adopt.
It always kind of been there in the background, never super strong. I'd be driving by an abortion clinic and I'd almost fantasize about, what if I just went over there and waited for the next person to walk in and said, hey, don't do it. I'll adopt your kid.
I'll take your kid.
I didn't do that. I don't know if that would have been a good idea or if I would have been arrested. I have no idea.
Yeah.
But I thought about it a little bit, you know.
They would have given you some looks. So after the Wait No More conference, there's paperwork that you were supposed to fill out if you wanted to continue to move forward. And so we decided to go with a certain agency, and we filled out the paperwork. We turned it in. I waited about a couple of days because I'm very impatient. When I want to do something, it's like, let's get it going.
Yeah.
I don't want to sit and wait. And so we were able to meet with a caseworker, and we just started moving forward. We really would hoping...
Moving forward here means class and another class and another class and an educational session, and it seems to go on forever.
Background checks, fingerprints.
But then suddenly about a year later, stuff moves very quickly.
Yeah, and so whenever we finally got to that time where we were able to start looking through children and their files and stuff, it felt really weird to us. Like, we're just like picking it. Like, I felt like I was going to the store picking out a child.
I'm not shopping for a kid.
Yeah,
This just feels so wrong.
We weren't going to be like, we didn't do that. We had our basic thoughts that would be best for our family. We were hoping, right? I mean, God absolutely knew what was best because of who we have, but he also has a sense of humor too. But anyway, we were hoping for siblings. We wanted, like a boy and a girl sibling group, so that way, our kids would have someone, because our daughters always
we didn't
wanted
have
a sister.
enough room for 2 kids unless it was a boy and a girl, because we'd have 2 boys and a boy in one room and 2 girls in another. So we were hoping for that. That's not what That's not what happened. They didn't even give it as an option. I don't know if they didn't trust us or there weren't any.
I don't think they had any sibling groups at the time. So there were like 3 kids. We said yes to all 3. We said, whoever God wants to be part of our family is who we're going to have a part of our family. And so through different circumstances and everything, Devin became part of our family. I remember the first time we didn't even have pictures of him in his file or anything.
He just showed up.
He showed up with...
Well, for the visit, they do like a first kind of initial...
Yeah, like a first time visit. And he showed up with his caseworker, and they were walking up the front of the house. And it's one of those pictures
and we're peeking out the window. Oh, here he comes. He's coming. Look. And
I was like, oh, he's so cute. And it's one of those things that I think I'll have etched in my brain, forever, seeing his smile for the first time and walk into the door, and you could tell he was a little nervous.
You know what I have in my head from that day?
What?
There's a moment I have too. Actually, I have the same one where he went, he's so cute.
Yeah.
It was the social worker. You could tell she probably talked to him ahead of time and said, look, we'll just go see what they're like, and you tell me if you feel safe and comfortable there. And she, leave you there for like 2 hours, basically. We took him out and we got ice cream. And you could tell that was something like that had happened. And then there was this look she gave him, like, eh? And he did this little thumbs up. And I was able to see, I just saw the whole thing. And I was like, that's cool. I like that little moment where he's like, all right.
Yeah, it was cool.
I guess I'll see with them.
Yeah, it was one of those, I made meatball subs, and we had McFlurries, and then we played some Mario Kart.
Yeah, that's right, Mario Kart.
And then it was so cute because when he wanted to leave, she came back to get him, and he was like, okay, well, let's go, because he was going to start transitioning with us on the weekends until school got out, because we started transitioning in April. So we had to wait a few months until school got out, because he wasn't in the same county as us. So we wanted to make sure he finished out the school year in his school, right?
Yeah.
And so she was like, okay, well, come on, buddy. We have to get back. We'll see him this weekend. He was like, but I want to spend the night tonight. Like, he wanted to stay with RJ and Sarah. And yeah, we kind of looked at each other. We're like, oh, yes, this is good. Yes, he likes us.
He still mostly likes us.
Yeah. Even
sometimes
tonight,
he doesn't like us.
He wasn't too happy with me, but I finally got a smile out of him. But it was just really cool how God, he was 9 when he came to the transition to move with us and everything.
Yeah,
and our oldest son,
8, but then he turned 9.
Right, and our oldest son is 9 as well, but our oldest son is 4 months older than Devin. So RJ is 4 months older than Devin. Mm-hmm. And I was really hoping to have RJ be the oldest because I didn't want to take that away from him. And then so it was just really cool how God, brought Devin into our lives.
Yeah.
And so he started living with us for about 3 months. So he moved in June, and then September I was coming out. This is like another one of those things
Here comes
that
the
are
surprise.
etched into my brain
Hold
forever.
on, before you go into this, I want
Yeah.
to say something. We have our plans, right? Man has plans, humans have their plans, but God had a different plan. It worked, you could see from the very beginning of this,
Yeah.
knew everything that was coming because there's some surprises coming. And you could just see how he was just like, I got this covered.
Yeah.
And it was so cool. So, all right, go ahead.
All right.
I'll shut up now.
No, you're good. You're good. So I was coming out of Bible study. It was a Tuesday morning. I just got in the van and I got a call from our social worker.
Tuesday morning.
Tuesday morning.
That's important. Sort of.
Tuesday morning. It's important. Listen, yeah. She called me and she's like, hey, Charity. She said, so, hypothetically, if birth mom had a baby, would you want to bring them into your home with you? And I said, what? She had,
Now understand, we had no more babies and no more desire for any babies. We didn't want to do diapers. We didn't want to do pull-ups. We were kind of excited that we were done with that completely.
Well, so there's another part of that seed that
she kind of wanted that.
a lot of my friends at church at that time were pregnant, and I was just like, oh, that's so cool. It's so sweet. Like, I kind of missed the baby stage. I love babies through 3. That's
cry and wake you up in the middle of the night. It's great.
that's my gift, I guess, with education.
Yeah, she's great.
And so I was really my heart's desire was just oh, it'd be so sweet to have a little baby, but I didn't want to birth another baby. I was done. We were done birthing children, but I wouldn't mind having a little baby. I actually remember telling someone, if someone just gave me a baby, I'd be fine with that. And so, apparently God listened. So Tuesday morning, I got in my car, I got a phone call. Hypothetically, mom had a baby. Would you want to have this child live with you? And I said, yes. Let me call Rob and let him know. I have to talk to him about it first, but I can tell you right now, yes.
That was a funny moment because when she called, she had texted me so we both knew what was going on, but we hadn't had a chance to talk. And then she called or I called her, and there was this awkward moment where I think what both of us were doing was preparing our counter arguments if the other person said no. We were like, all right, we're just being a little on guard. I'm pretty sure you're gonna say it, but we're doing this, right? We have to do this.
Yeah, this is his sibling.
Once we did it, we're like, oh, okay, we're good.
Yes.
We both agree.
So we found out that mom had a breast child, and she had asked for this. It was a little boy. She wanted Devin and him to be together, and so we're just like, what? So she had her the day before on Monday.
Yep, Monday, baby born.
Yeah, Tuesday we get the call.
Which they didn't, the social worker, nobody knew she was pregnant, so it was out of the blue for her too.
It was a total surprise for everybody.
Tuesday we get a call. Saturday we picked up a baby.
Surprise!
No intention of ever having a baby, but voila,
Yeah.
we had to get diapers, we had to get all kinds of stuff, and a bunch of people helped. It was really sweet.
Yeah. It was actually really funny because I called Robbie at work and I was like, hey, is it okay if I get this pack and play? I really want to make sure we were ready. It was a Wednesday, I think. A Tuesday, or it was that Tuesday, I think, actually, or Wednesday, the next day. The next day I went out and was at Walmart doing these things. And he's like, well, did you get a present yet for my sister who actually was pregnant with twins at the time and had just had her baby or was having it, at any moment, right? I think she had just had the twins. And I was like, no, honey, I'm shopping for our baby. Yeah, so we wrote us into some things, but I was trying to get everything together, and it was just so crazy. We went to the hospital.
We just picked up a baby. It was so crazy.
I walked in. Remember, I walked in. The nurse had pushed out a baby, and we didn't know what he looked like. We didn't know
Yeah, we didn't know
background or anything.
We knew his birth mom. That's all we knew.
Right, we didn't know who birth dad was, or so she had pushed out a little baby boy, and his little baby was Irish white with red hair, and I was like, I looked, I said, is this? And she's like, oh no, sweetheart, he's in there. I said, okay, good. I was kind of relieved
because were you scared of a red-haired baby?
No. It's just that with Devin Devin is biracial. Birth mom was Caucasian, birth dad is African American, and so with us being white, I really was hoping that his sibling would be the same.
Yeah, kind of make him feel a little more at home.
Tone, yeah, like I was hoping he'd be, biracial as well. Yeah. And so then we have Makai.
Yeah, well, there's a little more then too, because see, again, God knew what was going on, and He had a plan from the beginning.
Yeah.
Because about 3 months later,
January,
birth mom died.
Yeah.
And so for the youngest, for Makai, did his birth dad. They both died in the same week. Now, obviously, for Makai, since he was a baby, he didn't know or care. But for Devin, this hit him really hard. It was difficult.
I think that was one of the hardest things I have ever had to do, was to tell him that she had passed. Like, I'd never want to do that again.
He was, as you might expect, very, very upset. But when I look back, I think, man, God knew what He was doing, right? He put Devin in this house where some people were going to be able to take another kid, and we're going to be able to handle a baby on the fly, which is it's kind of crazy, right? And definitely not everyone can do that, or would be willing to do that, or whatever. And he knew Makai was in the womb. Yeah. Nobody else knew, but he knew. And he knew, too, 3 months later, there was going to be no one to care for him. And he was just like, nah, I'm going to take you out of any suffering or problems, and here you go. You're good. And it was just, so cool. It's so cool to watch how God works.
You just saw His grace. His grace was just surrounding them so much.
And he had no developmental problems. He's had nothing. He's just been happy, healthy, just fun as can be.
Typical 2, 3, 4-year-old temper tantrums. All the good stuff that I thought I was over.
So much fun. So much fun. Yeah. Yes. And now we're done, we think, again with diapers. I don't know. God could throw another one, but we don't want to. But maybe He will. Who can say?
He doesn't.
I'm tired. I already shaved. I mean, come on.
And you put on a shirt.
I have to get another baby too?
Yeah, so where we are right now, our boys are, RJ's 13, Devin's 13. Everybody all the time, with school, we just changed to a new school district, and oh, they twins? I'm like, no, they're not twins. Look, they're 4 months apart. If that was a twin situation and their birthdays are 4 months apart, I really need to talk to the doctor who delivered them, because that is not right. So 13, Sarah, our daughter, is 11, and Makai is 4.
Yep. And it's been a lot of fun, and there's more fun to come.
Yeah, this has been a learning journey for all of us involved. I would say all 6 of us. Learning extra grace every day, learning patience, learning how to deal with some back trauma, because he does have some back trauma, learning how to talk with him and to interact and just help everyone succeed in the best that they can. Yeah. It's been fun. It's been a blessing.
There are 2 things I really want to say.
Yeah.
If there's anyone listening who's thought about it and isn't sure and is kind of on the fence or whatever, the first is to answer a question I've heard before, which was, hey, is it like having your own kid? People say it that way. Typically in foster care and others, they don't say stuff like that. Say birth child and whatever. It sounds, it sounds demeaning. Yeah. Don't do that. But they'll say, is it like that? Is it really the same, or is it different, or blah, blah, blah? And the answer to that, honestly, is that it is the same.
100%.
What's different, or what's interesting when the kid is older, is there's this period when you have a new baby, right? One that's genetically a match to you, right? One that is a birth child, where you're like, here's this baby, here's this lump of flesh. In this case, I don't feel a lot of connection necessarily to it or her. They don't interact or whatever. But there's also this getting to know them. They're kind of getting to know you. You're kind of getting to know them. You're not comfortable with each other because you haven't been around each other just like any other people.
Right.
What's different, I think, with an adoptive kid is you go through that same thing, but you do it when they're 8 or 9, and they're like, are you all right? Or what kind of stuff do you like? And you're like, what kind of stuff do you like? And, you don't have that
process.
You don't have
that again.
Yeah. What you don't have is the 8 years of connection already when they're 8, but you start developing it and everything. And so with Makai, with the baby, it really was, it felt 100% the same as any birth child. The only difference being maybe they're a different color than you, or sometimes they'll have skills you don't have at all because they're got different genes and they're just good at stuff that neither of us are good at. And it's like, well, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
And so I do want to answer that. The second thing I want to say is, if you are thinking about it, I think really what you should do is take that first step, because in each case, the next step's pretty obvious, and you can always stop, right? You can always get through every single class,
do all the training,
never mind.
See how you feel about things.
I don't think you'll even get judgment for that, because truthfully, they understand. They want you to go in with your eyes open. Yeah. But take that first step. Like, go ahead, get some information, get started, contact a foster care agency, go to some Wait No More conference or whatever. They'll give you more information. They'll tell you more what to do next.
Message me and I can help you.
Yeah, you can talk to us.
Connected. Yeah.
And I say go for it. It is a really good thing, and it's something we need more of. And there are definitely more people out there who could do it.
Yeah.
I'm not saying everyone can, because you may not have the resources or whatever, but most fairly stable families, mom and dad are there. You've got kids and maybe enough money. You could probably take on one more kid who really needs it. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid.
Right. And even if you are scared, like,
do it anyway. No.
Right. Yeah. No. Right. Because being scared is moving forward. Being brave is moving scared forward. Right. Yeah. So even if you're scared, like, be brave about it and think about the children whose lives you're impacting.
I feel like there's few things in the world you can do that are as impactful and as good as adopting a kid. Like, that is, if you think about it, like, there are probably things you could do, I don't know, like heroically save someone's life, giving up your own or something. But there are just very few where, especially we have the opportunity right now to go get it started.
Yeah, and you might not, you're like, well, it's just one child. Yes, but that one child, once adopted, lives will be changed, right? And so then you're moving them forward in a positive direction to where they hopefully will get married one day and have a positive family outlook in their home, have a stable home for them, their family to move on.
Who knows how many descendants and who knows how many people
they impact. You don't know how many lives you actually are changing because of the one. That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah.
So we hope that our story, that the boys' story has been uplifting and encouraging. If you have any questions about foster care or adoption, message me and I will see.
Oh yeah, we can do this now. We can be like, down here. Because down here, I guess later will be some YouTube comments or something.
Yes, down here.
Right now, down here is a carpet. But
message me.
It's going to be.
And I can help with whatever you need. I don't mind doing that. I love doing that kind of stuff, helping people. So thank you so much for joining us. Should we tell them what we're going to talk about next week?
Yes, we should tell them what we're going to talk about next week.
So next Tuesday, what we have for you is the Enneagram. Yes, the Enneagram. Enneagram. I started on it a couple months ago, and then Rob was like, there's no way. And then he was just like mind blown, and then ever since then, he's just been digging deeper almost than me.
There's no way, mind blown. Okay, that's a good description, I guess.
I mean, basically, all these little analytical thoughts were just like, there's no way someone can type me like that. And I was like, okay, we'll see about that.
You can't fit people into 9 groups. Oh, shoot, people fit into 9 groups.
So we're going to kind of talk more about that and our numbers. So we hope that you're able to join us next Tuesday for Thoughts and Feelings. Until then, have a great week. Bye. Where were you last night at 12 a.m.?
This joke doesn't make sense to them because they can't see that super bright light in our faces. There's a super bright light in our face.
I feel like I'm at 60 Minutes or something with the clock in the background. Listen.
Can they hear the clock?
I don't know. Can you?
We'll be